songwriting, and I never really get tired of. There's a process of getting together with Alex and Neil that I find immensely rewarding, and that's going in that room with nothing and coming out with a song. And the first time you play it back on an 8-track or on a 2-track, and you listen back to the ideas and see the melodies coming and honing the melodies and working on the inside of the song, and the whole craft that comes out of the art, to me, it's great. I don't ever really get tired of it. It's always a challenge. It's always a little scary. You never know if anything's going to come out, and you just keep your fingers crossed that it's going to work. And as you get into a role of writing an album, you start to have more confidence that, yeah, it will work. And then the songs come out better and better and better, and I love that. That's a really great thing. Everything else associated with it, you kind of take with a grain of salt. But I don't think anyone has a job that's fun all the time, and that's kind of the way I look at mine. People often ask me that, don't you want to do something else? And, you think about doing all kinds of other things, but it's kind of what you do, and it's hard just to leave it alone, especially when you don't ever feel like you've done the perfect thing. You don't ever feel like you've written the best song you can write. You always kind of scratch your head and go, well, I think there's another one in there that might be better than that. Maybe we're getting closer to it all the time.
With each one, I think, anyways, that we're getting better and better at our songwriting and our arranging, at all the things that we're supposed to be doing well. So hopefully, over the next few years, we will continue to advance and progress.
Reading has a funny relation. I think one of the most important aspects for anyone is probably escape. And I grew up in a very suburban environment, very conformist, and consequently seemed very bland to me and very difficult to break out of. And reading was the exit, definitely, for me, the escape. And started very young with mystery stories, the romance of all that. Even Nancy Drew and Hardy Boy books and Agatha Christie. I read every Agatha Christie mystery, I think, ever. Sassos was very fertile because he was such an imagery-laden writer. So he always sparked my interest in my imagination off in different ways. So a song like The Big Money or a song like Grand Design, the titles relate to him, but the songs don't. Just the imagery caught my imagination. His way of looking at something caught my imagination. So that became my starting off point. Other writers, specifically, sometimes a song like Losing It was written about a writer. I was thinking of the tragedy of Ernest Hemingway when he got toward the end of his life, and he just simply couldn't write anymore. And it had been his life, and he'd be standing there he was invited, I remember, to the President Kennedy's inauguration, and there was a story that he stood there for 2 hours trying to write an answer to this invitation, and couldn't compose an answer to the invitation, and was weeping, with the frustration of it all. So I got into the tragedy of that, and then thinking about him as an individual, but then taking it as a symbol and thinking of any artist or any person who does something they really love to do. Again, I don't think that's important. The important thing is that they are affected by the music, and if they like it, that's fine. Need never pay any attention to the lyrics except their sounds. And I have to think of that too. When I'm writing lyrics, there are sounds that have to be sung, and I think of them just in a purely euphonious way. It just has to be a nice sounding series of syllables. And then if I can get an interrelation of rhythm in there that satisfies me as a craftsman, and if I can get some other symbolism in there that might be even just personal, that will just make me happier with it. So nothing's lost, nobody suffers. But when somebody takes that vagueness and all that big collection of images and possible interpretations and takes it in such a diametrically opposed way to anything I'd ever even thought of, let alone intended, it's a little scary, but you have to say, well, that's good. They were able to take what they wanted out of it.
Making a record for me takes far too long than it should, but it just you learn to live with it because it's the thing that you do, and it's part of what I've grown up with. But when you get into film and animation, and all that stuff takes even longer. So I find I have less patience with that kind of process, but I enjoy the collaboration with animators and creative people in the visual arts, and even the directors when we do videos. Thinking the things up is a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Putting them all together and having to deal with the realities of budgets and the unrealized visions, I think, are very frustrating.